Imagine being on the phone with someone you love. 47 minutes. Their voice in your ear the whole time. And then, nothing. Not a scream, not a splash, not a crash. Just two words and silence. And you never hear their voice again. We've been treating Brandon Swanson's story as an unsolved mystery. It's not. It's a horror story that played out live on a phone call in the dark. And tonight, we're going inside those 47 minutes. Welcome to Mr. Wick and Whispers. Stay with me, because once you understand what his mom heard on that call and what she didn't, you will never think about a late-night phone call the same way again. May 14th, 2008, Marshall, Minnesota. It was a Wednesday night, the kind of ordinary Wednesday that happens in small towns across America without anyone remembering it. College students out, a few too many drinks, friends scattered across the dark roads between parties. Brandon Swanson was 19 years old. By every account, he was exactly what a 19-year-old should be. Young, social, a little reckless in the way that feels invincible at that age. He had been out that evening in a town called Canby, about 20 miles from his home in Marshall. He had been drinking, not dramatically so, just enough to make the decision he made next feel reasonable at the time. He got in his car to drive home. Somewhere on those flat Minnesota roads, in the black prairie dark, his car went off the road and got stuck in a ditch. Not a crash, just a car sliding into the soft shoulder, wheels spinning, not going anywhere. So Brandon did what any 19-year-old does in 2008 when something goes wrong. He called his parents. It was around 12:30 in the morning when Annette Swanson's phone rang. I want you to sit inside this moment for a second. It is the middle of the night. The phone rings. It is your son. He has gotten his car stuck. He is fine, a little frustrated, a little embarrassed maybe, but fine. His voice is calm. He gives you a rough idea of where he is. You tell him you are coming. You get in the car. Your husband, Brian, is with you. You are driving toward your son, and your son is on the phone, and everything is going to be okay. That is the version of this night that should have happened. The Swansons drove toward where Brandon said he was. Brandon stayed on the phone. He was walking. He had gotten out of the car and was moving, trying to find a landmark, trying to figure out where exactly he had ended up. The roads out there are flat and long and dark, and they all look alike. His parents drove and drove. They went to the location he described. No car, no Brandon. Brandon told them he could see the lights of a town ahead of him. He thought he was near Lind, a small town close to Marshall. He was walking toward those lights. He sounded fine. Confused, maybe, but okay. He was just a kid who got his car stuck and was walking toward a town in the dark. His parents kept driving, trying to intercept him, trying to close the distance between their headlights and his voice. 47 minutes. That is how long the call lasted. 47 minutes of Brandon's voice in the phone. 47 minutes of a mother listening to her son walk through the dark. 47 minutes of getting closer and somehow never arriving. And then Brandon said something. Mid-sentence, mid-step, mid-breath. 2 words, reported as a sudden exclamation of alarm. The kind of thing you say when something startles you, when something appears in front of you that you did not expect. And the line went dead. Not a gradual fade, not a series of broken words, not the crackle of a dropped call. The line simply ended. Annette called back immediately. The phone rang, no answer. She called again and again. Brian and Annette drove to where they believed the call had been coming from. They found Brandon's car eventually, stuck in a ditch near Canby, miles from where Brandon had said he was, miles from Lind, miles from where they had been searching. Brandon had been disoriented. The lights he was walking toward were not Lind. He had been heading in the wrong direction entirely, out into the open farmland, away from any town. His parents stood on that dark road next to an empty car, and the phone just rang and rang and rang. Search and rescue began immediately. The area around where his car was found was combed on foot, by horseback, by ATV, by helicopter. Dogs were brought in. Trained search teams walked the fields and the drainage ditches and the tree lines. They found nothing. Not a footprint, not a piece of clothing, not a dropped phone or a lost shoe or a broken branch. Nothing. Now think about that for a moment. A 19-year-old was on the phone, walking through open farmland in Minnesota, when something made him cry out and go silent. His last known direction was established. His car was found. The terrain is flat, no mountains, no dense forest, no dramatic geography to swallow a person whole. And yet, search dogs, animals that can track a scent across miles of difficult terrain, lost his trail almost immediately near the car. They could not pick it up. They circled. They worked the area. They found nothing to follow. How does a person disappear from flat, open farmland with no trace? How does a person, warm, recently walking, recently talking, leave no scent for a trained search dog? Those are the questions investigators could not answer then. They cannot answer them now. The area around Canby is intersected by the Yellow Medicine River. It is not a dramatic river. It is not deep or wide or particularly fast, but it runs through that landscape, and it runs through the search area, and water, even quiet water, does not give back what it takes the way that land does. Investigators believe it is possible, likely some say, that Brandon fell into the Yellow Medicine River in the dark. That the 2 words were the sound of someone startled by suddenly finding no ground beneath their feet. That the river took him. But the river was searched too. Divers went in. The banks were walked for miles in both directions. No body, no clothing, no remains. In 2013, 5 years after Brandon disappeared, skeletal remains were found near the Yellow Medicine River. The family held their breath. The remains were tested. They were not Brandon. Brandon Swanson has never been found. No confirmed trace of him has ever been recovered. He is still officially a missing person. He would be 36 years old today. I keep coming back to Annette because in most disappearances, the family finds out after. They report someone missing. They wait. They are told. The horror arrives in a phone call, or a knock on the door, or a stranger's voice delivering news. Annette Swanson did not find out after. She was there, on the phone, listening. For 47 minutes, she had her son's voice, live, real, present. And then she had 2 words. And then she had silence. And then she had a phone that rang and rang and rang in the dark, with no one to answer it. She heard the moment her son disappeared. She just doesn't know what she heard. That distinction between witnessing something and understanding it might be the most psychologically devastating part of this entire story, because the human brain does not let go of unanswered questions. It runs them on a loop. It searches the memory for something it missed, something that would explain it, something that would close the story. What were those 2 words? What startled him? What was in front of him in that dark field that he did not expect to see? Was it the edge of the riverbank, appearing suddenly out of the dark? Was it something else? Was it an animal? A person? Nobody knows. Not the investigators, not the search teams, not the family, not Annette. Something changed in Minnesota because of Brandon Swanson. Before his disappearance, Minnesota law required a 72-hour waiting period before a missing adult could be officially reported and a formal search launched. 3 days. 3 days of a family searching alone before law enforcement could formally respond. After Brandon, that law was changed. The Brandon Swanson Missing Persons Alert Act eliminated the waiting period entirely. Now, in Minnesota, a missing adult report triggers an immediate response. A law named after a boy who has never been found. A law that might save someone else's son, but came too late to save his. There is a particular kind of grief in that. The idea that your loss becomes policy, that your child's name lives on, not in a grave you can visit, not in a story with an ending, but in a legislative record, in a procedural change, in the bureaucratic language of public safety. The Swanson family has kept searching. They have kept Brandon's case alive, kept the story in front of investigators, kept hoping that someone, somewhere, has a piece of information that hasn't surfaced yet. They have never stopped. Because without a body, without a confirmed cause, the brain cannot close the loop. The heart keeps the possibility open. And the phone number is still in the contact list. And the voice is still in the memory. And somewhere in a mother's mind, a phone is still ringing in the dark. Here is what I cannot let go of. Brandon knew where he was going. He could see lights. He was walking toward them, talking to his mother, giving her directions, describing what he saw. He was present and aware and moving. And then in one single second, in the space between one word and the next, he was gone. No gradual drift, no series of bad decisions building toward an ending. Just a voice, and then two words, and then nothing. The world is full of disappearances that make a terrible kind of sense in hindsight. You can trace the steps. You can see where it went wrong. You can build a timeline that leads from point A to the awful point B. Brandon Swanson's disappearance doesn't do that. It just stops, mid-sentence, mid-step, mid-life. And the two words, whatever they were, whatever he saw, are the only clue, and they explain nothing, and they will likely never be understood. Annette Swanson heard her son disappear in real time, and she still doesn't know what happened to him. Neither do we. Brandon Swanson's case remains open. The Yellow Medicine River still runs through that flat Minnesota landscape. The fields are still dark at night. The roads still look the same in every direction when your headlights are the only light for miles. Somewhere out there, in the water or the soil or the cold silence of that prairie dark, there may be an answer. Or there may not be, because some stories don't close. Some phone calls just end, and some voices go silent in the middle of a sentence and never explain why. The most terrifying thing about Brandon Swanson isn't what happened to him. It's that his mom was right there, on the line, and she still couldn't reach him. Tell me in the comments, what do you think those two words were? What do you think he saw in that dark field? Drop your theory below. It helps us know which stories are hitting hardest, and it genuinely keeps the lights on here at Mr. Wick and Whispers. If this got under your skin, if you're going to be thinking about those 47 minutes tonight, hit that like button and subscribe to Mr. Wick and Whispers so you never miss a story. We'll be here in the dark, waiting for you. Sleep well, if you can.